Hey, welcome to another episode of the Blackout Tips Podcast. I'm your host, Rod. Joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
And we're live on a Saturday to do some podcasting. Of course, you can find us everywhere you find podcasts. Search the Blackout Tips. Leave us 5-star reviews on iTunes, and we will read them on the show as long as they're nice. The official weapon of the show is
the taser,
and the unofficial sport,
bullet ball,
and bullet ball extreme. And today's show is what kind of show?
A feedback show.
A feedback show. That's for all the people who leave comments, vote in the poll, leave voicemails, all kinds of stuff to say, hey, we got some thoughts. And then what do? We read them and we go, we got some thoughts. And that's what all the day is going to be. You can leave feedback on the blackouttips.com. You can email us to blackouttips@gmail.com. You can leave voicemail 704-557-0186. All that stuff is in the show notes. And you can also donate to the show. All you got to do is go to the blackouttips.com, look on the right hand side, and just say, hey, I want to donate. It'll be one time, be recurring. We don't care. We just want the money. Okay. And then because of that, we give you a shout out.
May I have your attention? You are now listening to Charlotte's own Rod and Karen. We welcome the good folks retired to the Blackout Tips.
New day, new pay. Let's talk about it. Alexis H, recurring donator. Marlon B, yes, Marlon B. Tanya S, Wanga from Down Under. We got a one-time donation from Tiffany S. Thank you, Tiffany. Dot Street J, Tiffany B, Shirley Wong Esquire, please say the Esquire. Jane M, Palmetto Stone Magic, Lindsay B, Alfonso M, J4, Mr. Span from the Span Report podcast, David C, James C, no relation, Jasmine J, and lastly Autumn W. Thank you everybody that sent the money. You know we love it. You know that's the main reason we do it. Okay, we just out here prosperity pimping. All right, we also have a 5-star review. Now, this is an interesting one because the 5-star review is for the Blackout Tip Spoiled movie reviews.
Yay!
But the actual review, the words are from Fink Heart Music, and it says, the fun auntie and uncle in my head. I enjoy this podcast because Rod and Karen take rip from the headlines and turn it on its ear with their interactive segments like Guess the Race and White People News. Truly the fun aunt and uncle in my head. Keep it up. I do like being the fun auntie and uncle in your head, but I feel like spoiled movie reviews is really more for the movie reviews.
I guess that one popped up first.
Yeah.
when they were searching.
You know,
that's hilarious.
But you know, we ain't mad at it. Okay.
We'll take the 5 stars on either one.
Yeah, it all counts towards us.
Yeah,
okay?
It does.
All right, let's get to your comments. Episode 2559 on the blackouttips.com. The episode is called One of the Best Black-Owned Podcasts. It has 6 comments. What?
Y'all had something to say.
Well, 3 of them are from Appia. So she says, the short version of the German abortion law, before you are in the 14th week of pregnancy, you can get an abortion. You have to talk to a place before that explains to you all the options and all the help you would get from the state should you decide to have a child. Every gynecologist can do the abortion. We don't have special clinics. After the 14th week, you can have an abortion if there's a medical problem with the child or the pregnancy would put the mother in danger. Abortion is never part of political campaigns. There's a sorry. And then later she wrote, sorry, I may have missed the clues about Clarence Thomas when you talked about him. Yes, I know these kinds of women who turn against other women and will be in the media like, see, every woman says that men are cool and women are the problem. It's an interesting psychological phenomenon to see yourself as something better than the others in your group and to think, if I can make it, everyone can. No one needs help. It's a total lack of empathy.
Yes, it is.
Agreed. So you get it. And after a while, like if you're thinking of some woman that is like that, after a while, it just doesn't, it becomes second nature and you just don't bring it up.
Right.
So like that's the thing with Clarence Thomas. He's been around in the American zeitgeist so long. We just don't. It's like bringing up that he's black is who don't know now. He's a black person that's a white supremacist.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the way that he rules. I don't care what he thinks his thinking is for
Right.
it. The ultimate effect is the same thing white supremacists want.
Yes, sir.
K-Can says, I voted yes in the poll. The poll was, are you about that life? I voted yes in the poll. It seems to let me vote twice, once before logging in and once after I logged in. But yeah, I'm about that life. But it depends. Not on some dumb Mickey Mouse shit. Had to check this guy at the comedy club a few weeks back because he was intentionally invading my space by leaning on me every time he laughed. I have way too much to lose to fuck him up. But he got those verbal hands, and yes, he was the only macadamia nut in the room. So I guess he was white.
I'm assuming.
Also, laughing on someone at the comedy club in a pandemic just feels like all the nope.
Nope.
AJ says, hey Rod and Queen Karen. Why I didn't get to be King Rod and Queen Karen? I see what you're doing. Great episode as always. Karen's talk about going through school in the South and how education is really about memorization of facts resonated with me. I went through the public education system. It was not a good experience overall. I barely learned anything. And we were watching full-length feature films in multiple classes where the film shown had little or nothing to do with the academic subject. Some were movies I did not like. During those times, I would be reading my book and not paying any attention to the movie. Even when I had study hall, movies were shown there as well. To escape, I started working in the attendance office, running passes to other classes and students. That's interesting because I always looked at movie time as like a reprieve, but it was honestly the opposite of learning about a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like the easiest way to quote unquote learn. And movies, now that I'm an adult, you just see how much creative license movies take. Like maybe they teach you a feeling or a vibe, but they're not always trying to teach you the actual facts of what happened.
No, and I guess being down here, I'm not that funny. I got tired, particularly when it came to the shit I cared about, which is Black history.
Mm-hmm.
It was only during the shortest month of the year, and a lot of times I can't tell you how many times that I've seen eyes on the prize. Like I'm tired of that shit. I'm like, okay, all right, now how many times y'all gonna show me this every year? It ain't nothing but maybe 6 or 7 pre-approved Negroes that we can cover, and they act like nobody else existed. Like for me, it was so boring.
Yeah, and movies to me is more like Schindler's List, because like documentaries and stuff I never counted as like watching a movie. That felt like you still were learning in class. But when they would come in and be like, we're gonna watch Sound of Music, to me I'd be like, yeah, I like this better than what we were gonna learn. And I'm not sure that was good. You know what I mean? Like it's probably not good that I was like, oh, I'll take this entertaining version of something where I'm going to think all the songs slap when really I should be learning like the facts of the Holocaust or something.
Agreed.
So RVP says, what up, brother Rod and sister K? I'm not trying to be funny, Karen. Man, y'all said something when you mentioned that activism can be an attractive occupation for a lot of sociopaths. I believe this to be true. The high-mindedness of some people can consider themselves activists can be annoying and draining. I once dated a girl who ran around in an activist space, and let me say it was pure hell. At first, she seemed nice, and we hit it off quite well. But let me slip up and choose the wrong words, or if I pose a different point of view or anything, and the conversation would go off the rails. She always had a trump card to pull off, i.e., you hate black women. Yep. Respectability, the excessive use of words, trauma, problematic, etc. Never once did she consider that she may be in a minority in a lot of her altruistic beliefs.
Right.
Accountability was a foreign language to her as far as I'm concerned. After weeks of this, I realized that there was more going on mentally. She had bipolar disorder with this person that had to cut her off completely. It was for the best. Yeah, I think a lot of times, these things can be attractive to these certain professions and stuff and I think activism, especially in the age of social media, is very attractive to people who are like, I don't want accountability, but I do want all the attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to have this hierarchy of being able to like embellish all this pain and trauma and shit and turn it into like, now I have a bully pulpit because I have pain no one else's pain matters, and I get to, and I should have sole domination of the discussion and all this stuff. And I think that's fucked up, you know what I mean? But also totally predictable that it would attract a certain type of person. And, you know, having dealt with certain activists and stuff like that in the past, or just seeing how people fall out so easily in these spaces that are supposed to be about, like, it's weird to me to think that in these spaces, which have become like very proprietary and very like territorial and shit, in these spaces where these motherfuckers can't even get along, how the fuck they think they supposed to like have the solution to solve all these other problems? Like, y'all can't even stay friends. Like, and it's like a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of people across the board. You see them fall out online a lot.
Yeah, and it seems like the prioritization, because they're human beings, and I'm not trying to say they shouldn't be humans, but the prioritization of like me pops up from time to time, and it's like, well, unfortunately, because of social media, we see it all the time, and it's just easy to just go either A, I don't care about this shit, so suck it up, because if you're trying to solve a problem that's bigger than you, and then you want me to stop at, but what about me? It ain't gonna happen.
No, it's not.
Because it's just the reality of it. I'm not saying it should be that way, but the vast majority of people gonna be like, yeah, I don't care about you and your friend, because you promised me we were gonna stop. I don't know. We were gonna stop overturn the Roe v. Wade. We were gonna stop that, and instead we got to hear about how you and her don't talk anymore. Who gives a fuck? So it's a cold world in that way. But if you think, you know, to leave your house and tell everybody what the solutions are for the world, yeah, you kind of gotta have an ego. I don't think it's possible to be an activist without some level of huge ego to think that you had an answer. So I'm not knocking this. Hard to be a podcaster without some ego. I'm thinking I'm giving y'all some. Y'all should have to hear my opinion or want to hear my opinion. Like, ego is attached to all this shit. It's just, can you be honest about it? And can you have some humility about it and be like, yeah, at the end of the day, I don't get to decide for other people.
No, you don't. And like you say, when it comes to certain things, particularly if it's something, a greater cause or a bigger cause than you, people on the outside looking in, they don't give a fuck about your squabbles. They don't care who did what to who. They don't care about who's not getting along. They want results. And if you're not producing them, they just don't care.
Yeah, even when we're doing the podcast, I think one of the reasons I can listen to so many shows that I disagree with, and I'm not saying like I'm listening to white supremacist shows or something crazy, but just shows where I'm like, I like these people, but they don't get down the way I get down. It's because I just don't expect it. And I can't be but so injured by something that I'm just like, yeah, it's a difference of opinion. They don't have any real power. They just differ in opinion of me. And I don't, if I was talking to them face to face, I tell them I disagree. But at the end of the day, that's all I got, you know? And I think that's one of the reasons we're able to absorb so much, you know, have so much room for people. Even when I'm talking about activists, I'm never like, we don't need activists and no shit like that. I'm like, no, they got a job to do.
Yes, they do.
You know? Anyway, back to the comment. Also, just wanted to point out, I think your feedback episodes offer some of your best content. If you're listening and you tend to skip feedback episodes, then you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Keep up the great work, y'all. Yeah, they don't get like a ton of less listeners, but they get enough less listeners that I'm always a little surprised, because you could almost skip regular episodes and check in with the feedback to see if you should have listened, you know?
For the week, yeah, right.
P.S. Rod, you frequently mentioned during the polls that the people on Spotify have money. Please explain. As far as I know, the music quality is subpar to other platforms, the ghetto. And to me, at least, it seems that most of the people that use Spotify don't even opt for Spotify Premium. Well, see, the thing is, we were behind the Spotify paywall and we had access to stats that you'll never see. So we know where the money is. Okay. Number one. Number two, the music quality is subpar compared to other platforms, which you're probably saying is Apple Music, and you're probably saying it's Tidal, which both do not have our podcast on them. Apple Podcast has our podcast on it. I don't know shit about the sound quality of that because it never comes up. So, of the places where people would spend money and listen to podcasts, it's Spotify. Every other place is a place where you either listen to podcasts for free or you spend money, but you don't listen to podcasts. See what I'm saying? Think about the Venn diagram. How do you brokies justify putting on a Spotify playlist during sexy times only for a random ad from ZipRecruiter to come on and kill the mood? Well, that's only if they're not premium. So it seems like you're trying to stretch.
Seem like you know that's why you spend money, so you don't have to worry about the commercials.
Also, is Tidal only pay? Is Apple Music only pay, or do they have some ad versions too? I'm just asking. I don't know.
I don't know. I pay for both of them services.
Yeah, so. I mean, I pay for the premium. So
yeah,
I got it like that.
I don't be getting.
So I'll tell you one thing. Spotify premium. I'm one of the premium, so that's how I know they got money. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm over there with them. Anyway, just wanted to see if you could share some context to your claim that they got money. If you ask me, the real people with money would be Apple Music users, seeing that there isn't a free Apple Music option that I know of. Love the show, guys. Swabby. Yeah, Apple Music people don't have a podcast on the music app. That's all. Yeah,
they separated theirs. They're not in the same thing, right?
So now you know. The poll: are you about that life? Yes or no?
Oh no, I'm not about that life.
82% of the audience says they are not about that life. 18% say they are about that life on our page. Now, when it comes to Spotify, the niggas with money, are they about that life? Apparently, 47% of them are about that life. Wow. What a drastic difference. Because when you got money, you can afford to be about that life.
Apparently so.
You can go to the hospital. You got the good insurance. You know what I mean? You could get a gun. But when you out here living on a wing and a prayer, like, I'm not about that life. Everything could go wrong.
I'm definitely not about that
so life. It's almost 50-50 on the damn poll. It makes sense. Give it up for yourselves was a comment for the episode. Marvin says, thank y'all so much, but I wouldn't be nothing without my girl, Coqui Negra, for helping me do right in this Panda Palooza. Rakisha says, woo, get on your feet, put your hands together, give it up for the 2022 Librarian of the Year, Brooklyn Shoe Babe. Hey! Congrats. Raphael says, thank you. You're far too kind. I accept the award on behalf of me and me. Honorable Sexy Chocolate at your service. Carly says, takes a bow. Thank you. And Miss Barnes says, I'm always my greatest cheerleader. Hey, if you ain't gonna be, then who is? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. If ain't nobody else in your chin section, be your own chin section.
Right. Can't wait on everybody else.
You'll be waiting forever.
The next episode is Won't He Do It, where we had our girl Janelle James on the show. Mm-hmm. Great episode. It was fun. Lots of good comments.
I went back and I re-listened. That was a lot of fun.
Miss Barnes says, I was so excited about Janelle coming back and so excited about all the great success she richly deserves. This means we are not getting the podcast anytime soon. Yeah, you in danger, girl. Yeah, that's a wrap. Mm-hmm. However, I can only be excited about more Janelle that we get to see on these TV streets. Shout out to you, Rod and Karen, for these luxurious guests you're lining up for us. Thank you. Also forgot to shout out Tyler for being the elder statesman of the show with the great advice. You love to see it. Yeah, and she was nominated for that Emmy, as was a lot of people on Abbott. And
the next day.
Show. So it was cool to see the next day. You know, she got nominated because she definitely deserved. Mm-hmm. The written one says, I answered not at all on the poll. The poll was, do you freak out when you see a celebrity in person? I answered not at all on the poll because the way my social awkwardness is set up, I'd become the meme of Homer Simpson disappeared to the bushes. I wait until I was home by myself to lose it. Ramsey D. Jenkins says 5 stars for all the Black excellence. Also, shout out to Janelle James for receiving her first Emmy nomination. # Black Girl Magic. Yeah, and shout out to First, because I would love to see her win many more. I mean, get nominated and win also. The poll results. Do you freak out when you see a celebrity in person? Yes, intensely. Yes, but only a little. Or no, not at all. Karen?
Probably no, because a lot of times I don't really be thinking it's a celebrity, or either I don't recognize them, which is terrible. It happened to me with, I think, DMX, and it also happened to me, I think years ago, was at Media Play. One of the Charlotte Hornets came in there, and I went through the whole transaction, and somebody was like, did you know that was such and such? I was like, oh, for real? I'd be oblivious.
Yeah, I'm a no, not at all. I don't like. I even when I know the celebrity, Anthony Hamilton and Roy Wood Jr. and all this. To me is that I like. That's the one thing I'm really not. It's not a joke to me. Even though I'm a fan of people, and maybe I just haven't seen the right person, but I really just see people as humans. And that's not like some lip service shit that a lot of these podcasts say, and then they go on to be like, mad at celebrities or standing celebrities and shit. I just literally see a lot of people as just people, and unless I can't imagine the scenario where it's like they not just a human trying to mind their business and probably don't want me freaking the fuck out in front of them.
Right.
Because I would imagine that would be a very weird fucking thing to have to deal with, is this grown ass man like, oh my God, anyway, yes, intently, 3.4%. Yes, but only a little, about 42%. And not at all, 55%. So the majority of people do not freak out at all. And I feel like I'm in that majority. And then the poll for the the poll is almost exactly. It's 4% for intently, 46% say only a little, and 50% say not at all on Spotify. So yeah, that's interesting. And then as far as the Q&A, Janelle better win an Emmy or we burning Hollywood to the ground. Micah says Steve Carell never won. Janelle better win. Ignacio says burn, baby, burn. Renee says if we don't burn it down, nature will take care of itself. But she got that non-woohoo, but I'm still gonna run up on for Mandy Moore because she was robbed. I tell you, robbed. Keith says burn, Hollywood burn. BGRS says I know this is the corny thing to say, but I'm super happy she is nominated. However, I do have matches in my pocket. Ernest says, hey Siri, play A Star in the Ghetto by Average White Band. Cietria says, damn straight. Ms. Barnes says she better win or I got the Ohio players playing fire in the background while I light up Hollywood. Kadian says, yes, she's back. James says, burn it all down. We're playing Public Enemies. Burn, Hollywood, burn. Janelle is the real MVP. Tell her I said so. She is greatness, says Raphael. Chrissy says, facts, or is it Crease? My bad. Facts, make way, smart kid coming through. Don't look at him with your regular IQs. Keenan says, wait, is it a bad thing to be the Janelle James foot guy? I'll let you decide for yourself. Roger says, burn it down. How do you see the gas prices? Dorena says, Hollywood don't want none of the tippers. So proud of Janelle and all the big things she's up to. Congrats on that Emmy nod. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you love to see it, man. And she's always been so gracious and so kind to even come on the show,
right?
In the first place. Then we talked to Greg Iwinski, who was my coworker and writer on Game Theory. We didn't get any comments on this one, but we did have a poll. The poll was, have you ever moved to another city to pursue a dream? Yes, 22%. No, 50%. And I moved, but not for a dream, 28%.
No, I've never moved. To
pursue a dream.
Only time I actually moved away to live was when I went to college, and I was 2.5 hours away. I don't know what it would be or what it would take to get me to not just for to actually uproot, because maybe it's just me. I love it down south. Like, people say what you want to, but this is my home. I was born and raised here. I love it here. I don't know where I would be willing to go and how many zeros and commas I would have to see to be willing to get me to uproot.
Mm. And then no comments on the Q&A, which was, there is no writer's block, but the episode poll was on Spotify, 33% yes, have moved to pursue a dream, which makes sense that it will be higher because that's where the money is.
Where the money reside? Where the money reside?
No, 39%, so that's lower. And 28% have moved, but not for a dream, which is about almost the exact same. So once again, these motherfuckers got that money.
How about you, baby? You moved for a dream?
I haven't moved. I mean, I wouldn't. Would you consider me going to New York for 3 months moving? I wouldn't consider it necessarily moving, but Like I think what Greg did was just fucking like brave, courageous, whatever. Like that's the shit you make movies off of, like
Like, he did
selling
okay.
all your shit and just being like, I need to be in this city to pursue this. And a lot of times comedians and stuff have that journey, you know.
Mhm.
2562, what fearing for their lives really looks like. We have 5 comments. Appia says, Rod is right again. The non-mRNA vaccine came out here and it changed nothing. Anti-vax people stayed anti-vax. By the way, a mutation doesn't have to be worse by definition. It's just different. Can be worse, can be milder. The new mutation seems to be worse on the lungs, so that's not great. Oh yeah. I'm sorry if that got conflated or whatever, but yeah, we know because there's been several mutations of the coronavirus that actually literally were not as bad. And there's been a couple that people got like very like, oh my god, it's coming, the such and such variant. Remember the flu rona, which is supposed to be a flu coronavirus variant, and it just either it didn't take off for whatever reason, had bad public relations, I don't know.
It's people didn't get in front of the story.
Yeah, they found some old racist tweets that Flu Rona had,
and they had to delete his post.
It got canceled. But yeah, Ramsey D. Jenkins says 5 stars. A shout out to Big Frida and Slim Thug for having a conversation they had. Their conversation is what most of us should do, and we want to learn more about people. Also, shout out to College Hill Celebrity Edition for highlighting something positive. Yeah, the main thing I kept thinking about is respect, man. If you come at something like a topic with respect, and you come at people with respect, and they return it, I think there's so much beautiful humanity in the fact that no, we don't have the black and white perfect language academic way, but human beings have been figuring out ways to exist with each other for so goddamn long, and it's so fucked up how divisive shit has gotten to where everything has to be a signal to other people about how what you really feel, as opposed to being or just being addicted to like the moral high ground, as opposed to being like I like maybe this person doesn't have the perfect words, but I know they have the perfect love or the perfect intent or whatever. I just, you know, it just feels like that is getting lost, and that was a beautiful moment. And it's the way that people liked it really showed me that okay, there's a lot more of us out here than them. With the, and not by them I mean one, your hateful people, but also just your people that disguise their hatefulness as tolerance.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think we've all met those people before. It's like when it's like this is something, and maybe y'all can relate to it, y'all understand, but I don't have a big thing about my name. Is it actually, now it's a running joke, right? People write up here 5-star Ron or whatever the fuck. I don't have a big thing about my name because I don't, if you mess up, you make a mistake, it's fine. I'm more care about the disrespect if it's on purpose. Like, so if someone thinks my name is Ron and then and they call me Ron at the basketball court, most of the time I don't correct them. And it's not because I don't respect myself, it's because I realize it's not that important. You know, to me, it's just not. It doesn't affect my self-esteem, the way I view myself. It doesn't affect the way they treat me. And most of the time, if it comes up and I correct them or something, people are very polite about it. People are fine. I've never had a situation where someone said, oh, I thought your name was Rodney. You told me it was Roderick. And then they go, man, fuck you, bitch. They were like, yeah, okay, it's Roderick. My bad. Sorry about that. And they don't intend it. And they may fuck up again. They still don't intend it. To me, the act like that, there's no difference between that guy and the guy that calls me motherfucker every day. That's what we have fallen into, is acting like it's all the same.
And it's not.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, and like I said, it's just my personal disposition. But I feel like a lot of times people are trying to make up for something. They're trying to compensate for something when they're like, we must control this. And it's even worse when discussions where we're talking about gender and sexual identity and stuff, because a lot of times we're not even talking as the people who are dealing with the issue. We think we're being helpful by talking for them.
Yeah, being angry on their
and
behalf.
what we're really trying to do is show people we're better than the bigots.
All right.
But like that should be your default, nigga. Everyone should be better than the bigots. Like, what the fuck? That's not a compliment. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, I think it's whack if you fucking are purposely trying to be harmful to trans people or gay people or women or whatever. Like, of course I should be better than that. But there's also this thing where it's like, well, sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes people are learning. Sometimes people don't know. I don't need to come down on them.
Right.
That's the part that I think gets lost, is this idea we need to come down on them as hard as we come down. It's like, no, because that's about your ego at that point. And so to see a conversation where it really had a nebulous answer, you really didn't have a definitive black and white moment, that felt so much more authentic than the bullshit that you see all the time. That's like, you know, this person accidentally said she, but you know, that person goes by they, and it's like, yeah, but you know they didn't mean to. So why are you treating them like fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because they're not the same.
Nope.
And it's not saying they can't get better. It's just that coming at them with that level of aggression and shit is more about you, not them.
Yep. And it is a turnoff, and everybody does not respond positively to that.
Yeah. So I like that conversation, and I hope we see more of it. And I hope that becomes more normal, and maybe people will get the language and stuff as they get better at it. But it takes a while for language and stuff to catch on. It's almost never instant. Capadonna says Macy Gray's non-apology is more confused and garbled than Aquafina's black scent. That was where I dropped the ball. I really meant to play that clip where she was up there struggling.
I thought she was gonna play it.
I know. I don't know. I meant to play it. I had it in my head. I thought I played it, but play it now.
You know, I'm open to the conversation. I think it, you know, it really is something that I think is a little bit multifaceted and layered. And so, yeah.
That's how she sounded to me.
But yeah, and to your point, Pierce Morgan is the Rush Limbaugh of uptight Midland Tories. They're not exactly Macy Gray fans. Her press agent should be fired. Yeah, that was the real part to me, was like, because I'm willing to understand you might not know what you're talking about. You might fuck up. That's human. You're on Pierce Morgan show. That's a lot harder for me to explain. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like the difference between like somebody saying something sexist or something that something inarticulate about women or something like that. Okay, cool. You know, that happens. Maybe you just need to learn or read or talk to somebody, and then you figure out, oh, I didn't mean to say that. But if you say that and you're on the fucking I Hate Women show, it's just harder to be like, damn, you didn't see that come. You like, you know, it's more like an intellectual level of disrespect where it's like, you didn't see that coming, Macy Gray. As soon as this motherfucker started bringing that topic up, you didn't realize where you was going with that. So either A, I can't respect you because it was just so stupid, or you're complicit and you really believe those things and you're only apologizing because somebody got in your ear and told you was in trouble. And as with all this shit, actions will tell us. You know. Let's see. Classic R&B Lover says, hello, Rod and Karen. I noticed a couple of months ago the self-checkout at the BJ at Costco now has automated system that tells you begin scanning, take your change, etc. Started loudly saying, did you remember to scan the items at the bottom of your cart? It was an annoyance because it was loud, but I looked at it as a friendly reminder because I could see someone forgetting something. Once I saw that TikTok about the dangers of self-checkout, I realized that this change was not meant as a friendly reminder, but rather as a way to eliminate the easy out for customers who take things, be it deliberate or inadvertently. Those box stores are looking to prosecute people now, and excuses will no longer be tolerated. My question is, percentage-wise, what are the demographics of the areas, the stores that now have the automated message? What areas will those stores be more likely to prosecute offenders, although it might take more time to get this data? Yeah, if that's I don't know. I don't know. We'll find out, I
And
guess.
it's gonna be interesting.
Also, like, I do wonder how much. So, conspiracy hat. I do wonder if that's a real issue where a lot of people are facing that, or if that's a TikTok like thing she just kind of knew would get a lot of people's attention. Everybody would be scared about it, but ultimately, it's not really happening a lot. I just wonder because I don't know. A lot of these stores have overhead and shit, and they, have it built in that there'll be a certain amount of theft and stuff. And I haven't heard of anyone anecdotally, I haven't seen it go viral or something where someone was like, I'm going to prison. They said I had Gatorade under my cart, and they, so I wonder, because TikTok is good for shit like that.
Making something that is like a 1 to 2% thing, like it happens consistently and all the time.
And a little bit of research finds out that it's not exactly what they were talking about, but it sounded scary enough to go viral. Do you worry about being accused of stealing from self-checkout? Yes, even though I don't steal. Yes, because I do be stealing. Or no? No. 32% said no. The highest was 58% saying yes, even though I don't steal. And then yes, because I do be stealing was about 10%. Let's check the people with money poll. Yes, even though I don't steal, 45%. See, they got money. They not that worried about it. They can afford it. Even if they get sued, they can pay. Yes, because I do be stealing 10%, and no 45%. So the percentages kind of line up with the money havers. I get it. And then the Q&A.
And those that do be stealing, be safe out there in them streets. They fuck around to get prosecuted.
Q&A. Stop taking pics on the wrong side of volcanoes.
Yes, please. Yes,
please don't go to Mount Vesuvius in the Cordon area thinking you doing something. Ignacio says, white folks, man. Carly says, thanks for the reminder. Keith says, but that's the only way to get them fire pics. You gonna get fire pics? Yeah. Hot like lava. Raphael says, what if it's the volcano that refuses to stay on the right side? After all, I'm too sexy for this heat, too sexy for this lava, so too sexy and must have my selfie now. Miss Barnes says this story can be a free square on Guess the Race. Why are white people so hard-headed? The entitlement is unreal. Renee says, is there a right side? Apparently we know there's a wrong side. This nigga fell in the volcano. Lee says, I wish that they would accuse me of stealing. I have heard of several people winning large settlements after being wrongly accused of stealing. Also, I don't trust TikTok lawyers. So Lee's on the same shit we on. And Rachel says, I stay on the right side of them bitches, thousands of miles away, staring into volcanoes and some white folk shit. Feel you. Valid point. Let me see if we had any voicemails. No voicemails this week. Which means we can get.
You want to leave us a voicemail? You can at 704-557-0186. That number again is 704-557-0186.
All right. So yeah, it's always in the show notes. Let's get to the emails. We did get several of those. This is from Katrina, who says, hi Rod, I'm listening to your response regarding Kate's email, which tried to clarify that cishet wasn't inclusive of all cis women. Of course, you are correct in what you said, specifically targeting cishet women. And I was praise dancing when I heard you get granular with it and say these white patriarchs specifically want to control the bodies of white cishet women because it is their bodies that are the engine of white supremacy. I'm saying that as an academic and a person who knows American brand of patriarchy quite well. Oh, all right. I got the academic backing on that one. A couple weeks ago, immediately after the life-altering SCOTUS decision, I made a TikTok that succinctly explained why this decision was really about getting white women back into the patriarchal fold. No dancing, I promise. It's at the bottom of this email. Of course, black women and other women of color are affected by this, but American white supremacy has always had a way to control our advancement. Between the terrible maternal mortality rate for black women, lack of funding for early ed programs, stripping public school funding, and feeding into the private prison industrial complex, straight up hunting and shooting us, gerrymandering our vote away, along with and other forms of racism. They have the means to mitigate Black people's population growth. They've been building up that interlocking system of control for over a century. But without white women's participation, even coerced, white patriarchy cannot be made glorious in their eyes. It's the numbers. That 2045 prediction of falling white population being below 50% has got the white patriarchy shook. Have been for a while. This is them calling in their women, but everyone else gets caught up in the net. And then she linked to the TikTok video. I'll see if I can put it on screen.
I believe that really had them shook.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to be clear, I'm not using the word fault, but what I'm saying is that the target.
Okay. So it says, can you explain why it's white women's fault? I mean, I'm sure it is, but like how exactly? I guess talking about Roe v. Wade.
Of these overturning the abortion laws or not guaranteeing it in all of the United States is directed at white women because of white supremacy. Hear me out. White people are projected by the census to be a minority by 2045, meaning their numbers will fall below 50%. And the Republican right has been in crisis like ever since then. White women's bodies are the engines of white supremacy. They are the engines of white supremacy because they produce the white people. White supremacy has also made whiteness so narrowly defined that obviously only white women having their white babies will do. So although technically the rate of abortions is higher among Black women in the United States, according to the CDC's data, there are more white women by pure numbers. White people are losing white people literally. The minorities are growing at a faster rate than the white population has been growing. This entire thing is about shoring up white power, and white women have been a very key part of white supremacy all along, whether they want to accept that or not. Without white women's bodies, white masculinity, white patriarchy can't really get as far or be as productive as it needs to. Cisgender straight men or straight men in general depend on women's bodies in order to know themselves. They are taught this way, that they need women in order to fully realize themselves as men. And so the white population in the United States cannot fully realize itself without white women having these white babies.
Yeah, there you go. She said it. That's what I was trying to say. Like I said, I think most people understood because we only got that one email about it, and then even when we talked about it, no one in the chat was like, "I don't understand." Like, and then to take it even further, I think cutting off the and thank you, Katrina, for writing in and dope TikTok. It does follow the trend of attractive people telling us stuff that we should be reading in books. Stuff we should be reading, but it's just like I need a man with an 8-pack ab to tell me the same thing. Anyway,
yep, I like it.
It follows the trend. But what I think is interesting there is cutting off the welfare services stuff. That makes a lot of sense. And it wasn't really till you just said that it made me think about this. But if you cut off the assistance, in addition to the racial aspect of it, right? That's what all of us go to immediately is, oh, they don't want Black kids and immigrants and stuff. It also means white women, if you want help, you need to attach yourself to a white man. So you want help taking care of that baby, come home. Come all the way home. If like anything other, if you want to use the government or rely on your job, no, we're going to make it punitive as fuck. But if you just come on back to the home, to the crib, the white man will take care of you and your baby, and we'll continue to create and produce these white children. That seems to be the ultimate plan. And yeah, that's what it makes sense to me.
And it wouldn't, and I might be wrong, and I'm gonna put on my controversy hat or third eye hat, whatever you want to say it. It would not be surprising if a lot of this push to a lot. I mean, because like I said, this Roe v. Wade was stuff that they have been preparing for years. But it would not surprise me if the pandemic sped the process up, because you have to think white people were dropping like flies all across this country with this pandemic, and them, refusing to wear masks and all that stuff. Like the white populace took a good hit.
So the only thing with that is because it went through the courts and it was being challenged the whole time, and it was a combination of a 50-year process. I don't know that it sped up the process. You see what I'm saying? Because it seemed to be an already thing. Not that you shouldn't get the,
Yeah, it's coincidence.
Open your third eye. Open your third eye.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna say ain't it a coincidence?
Yeah.
That the coronavirus was wiping all these white folks
It's
out.
Definitely some third eye shit.
And then they like, you know what? We gonna pass this bill so these white women can keep having these babies because they're up like flies.
It's definitely some third eye shit. The problem, like I said, the real problem with the conspiracy theory is that when this really took place was 2016.
True. Okay.
Because that was when
before
Trump won. Yeah, that's way before coronavirus. That's when Trump won. That's how they got the judges. And a lot of these cases happened under Trump, but before the pandemic, like to bring these to court. But either way, like, either way, it's still fucked up. There was something else I was gonna say. With all this equality, with all these opportunities in America, even with it being a sexist, misogynistic country, white women are still the most prepared to benefit from all these policies, whether it be affirmative action, whether it be pay wage equality, whether it be in the welfare state. It's still a white woman will benefit more than almost any other demographic, more than black men, more than black women, more than anybody. So when you think of it that way, they have been positioned, because after the feminism's like wave or whatever, the 70s and 60s, they've been positioned to gain the most. So that is a implicit threat to whiteness. White women have a choice. White women being free to marry who they want, to be gay, to leave home, to be single, to have children later in life. They benefit the most from that, from choice and power and money and access. And so, of course, whiteness is like, we need a reaction to this. We can't allow that to fester. We can't allow that to happen. So the second we can make them come back home, we're going to do it. And that's what they're doing right now. Arby's and Old Spice. Scott says, have you seen the advertisements that combine Arby's and Old Spice antiperspirant? The concept for the ad is that Old Spice can protect you from the meat sweats that you get from eating a huge Arby's roast beef sandwich. After watching the ad, I was confused. The image of a tiny Isaiah Mustafa climbing a wall of Arby's meat is disturbing. The ad makes Arby's seem even less appetizing. Their product is clearly the butt of the joke in the spot. The Old Spice marketing team managed to completely fool the management at Arby's. What's going on here?
Arby's have.
All right, let me see. I haven't seen this commercial.
I
normally, whenever Arby's commercial come on, I just turn my TV off. But
I must say I have not seen this one.
Okay.
Pound roast beef piled high with
meat sweats.
Who said that?
Old Spice meat sweat defense. Defends against the meat sweats. It's very literal.
Get out of this ad.
I'm on a horsey sauce.
Arby's, we have the
meat sweats defense.
Yeah.
That commercial made no sense.
You can do that when your job isn't to sell sandwiches. When you're a front for a drug operation, you do a lot of things that don't make sense. Like commercials that say your product makes people smell bad and have sweats, and you're going to need to get deodorant after eating this food. Nobody else has that fucking advertising. That's like Taco Bell doing a cross promotion with Charmin. But they don't sell food. They sell drugs with food as a front. Biden running for re-election. This is from Kyle. Hey, Rod, and another question. that I'd love for you to discuss on the show if you haven't already. Maybe I missed it. Should Biden run for re-election, or is he too old? Should he step aside for someone like Kamala or Gavin Newsom? I'm personally torn on this and just can't decide what I think is best. A New York Times columnist argues he's too old. Yeah, New York Times be printing anything. But then many of the commenters make good counterpoints. Hope all is well with you. Best wishes, Kyle. Here's the thing. He probably was too old to run for president the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you're talking about in the way that people are measuring this age thing, and by which I mean like it was like we younger candidates should be the ones that win. The thing is, for me, you should run if you can win.
Right. If you want it, beat them.
And I don't understand this idea of like moving out the way, because in what they think moving out the way means, and this is just the problem with a lot of liberal thinking online, they think there's a mandate for Democratic people and liberal people to win. They think progressive values are going to win out everywhere, and obviously we'll get a progressive utopia if it just wasn't for these damn moderate Democrats running for office. And my personal belief is if those moderate Democrats weren't running, they just be Republicans winning those spots in a lot of cases. It's the I'll elaborate in a second, but another example in a second, but it's just, to me, that's what's obvious. The other thing is it does feel ageist. I now understand the ageism thing. Like, when are we supposed to do that?
Right.
Because like it's supposed to be a thing you don't do, it's frowned upon, it's fucked up. But whenever it comes to president or political office, especially with Democrats, almost never Republicans, it turns into like there's a certain age where you just supposed to step down.
Right.
And then the next Democrat up, who we like more for some reason, will always just step into the shoes and completely do a great job.
Until they get too old. Kiss my ass. Take it from me, bitch.
Yeah, and I feel like if you earned your spot and you can win your spot and you can defend your spot, that's your spot. Somebody got to come get it.
Come get it.
We have primaries for a reason. I'm not anti-primary. Like when people say I want to primary somebody, I mean, there's times where I think it's a bad idea, or you probably won't be successful, or it's a waste of time or something. But I'm never gonna be like, you can't do it. That's the system. And if you don't beat them, then hopefully you shut the fuck up and jump and sit in line when it's time, and don't just throw a tantrum and try to just throw the whole party into shambles because you didn't get your way. But I don't mind primary everybody. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like that's your thing.
And my thing is beat them, come up with your ideas, and see how the motherfuckers do. Since you got all the answers.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Like, not threatened right now. So the example I was gonna make is I was asking on Twitter just a general question, which is, why don't progressives run for mansion and cinema seats? Like, they always talking about primary Democrats that already are doing a good job. So you have an issue with mansion and cinema, and your solution is to primary other Democrats who already vote the way you want them to vote. Tell me the math logic there. I just want to understand, because you're telling me the problem with the Democratic Party are the 96% of people that already vote in the way you would like them to. And we're still gonna have the same issue if you get your way, which is, okay, cool. You just got a bunch of Democrats replaced by even more left-leaning Democrats. Cool. Love it. Awesome. I'm with that shit. What are we gonna do about mansion and cinema? Because they're still gonna have all the power.
Right.
Because you're not trying to compete against Republicans, right? You don't really see these very liberal progressive people saying we're gonna go to a Republican district and fight that person for the battle to take the seat. They only want to fight the battles where Democrats have already done a whole lot of the groundwork.
Right.
And they're like, can we just push you a little bit more left? And it's like, that's cool, but we still won't have the numbers to pass the big legislation you keep saying you want. So why aren't you going after Republican seats? And I just mean this mathematically, not on the emotional level that so many people are going to get on because they're mad at progressives and they want to like yell at them to be like, to do something impossible. That's not my deal. This isn't like when people say, How come Black Lives Matter don't protest at the Trump rally? I'm not even going for the theatrics. I'm asking a actual question. Why aren't they doing that? And if your answer is a very obvious answer, which I think most people would say, because they can't win there.
Right.
If that is your answer, then you're already admitting there's a limit to the socialist, liberal, progressive politics of the left. You're admitting it. It is not a winner everywhere. And it brings me back to the fucking thing I've been saying the whole time when we go back to like defund and stuff like that. When I said, well, defund's not going to work in South Carolina, and people were like, basically, you're a sellout for saying that. But you're also admitting that there are places where the liberal progressive shit runs out and people don't want it. There's not a trap or trick. The voters don't like those ideas. If either you got to put in more groundwork and you gotta win it that way, or you gotta admit, okay, we can't win there. What can we win, right? If it's that cynical, then why do you think progressives will be the only people doing that math? People that are Democrats are doing that math too. Your moderates are doing that math too. Where can I win is where people are running. So I think that's what's getting lost. That being said, back to your big picture thing with Joe Biden. I don't think I've ever seen an article about Trump being too old.
Right.
I don't think I've ever seen an article about Trump being too old, dog. It's crazy. The standards that we put on the Democrats compared to the Republicans is so weird. And I don't know why it's just accepted to be that way. Yeah, if you don't want him to be president because he's too old, that's fine. But I've never seen. Donald Trump is 76. Joe Biden 77 at the time of his victory. I don't know how old they are. It was 20, so I guess 2 years older for both of them. You just don't hear this for their side, and it's very interesting to see it that way. So
nope, because on the Republican side, they've had bigots in the House and the Senate that have down here 80 and 90 something years old. They held them, some of them held in position till they motherfucking died. And that one time was any article wrote about these fucking racists talking about they too motherfucking old.
And also, like, a lot of the Russian propaganda that was trying to make him seem older than he even is, like showing every stutter, or sometimes even falsifying things out of order to make. There was one going around last week when he gave the Medal of Honor to some couple people. Someone photoshopped it to make it look like he put the medal on backwards. And there were people sharing it like it was real because they want to believe he's an old, feeble, senile man and all this shit. And I hate to see people on our side buy into that shit, even with jokes, because that shit has a real impact. And the fact that it's not true should bother us. You know what I mean? Him falling on his bike because his thing got stuck in the goddamn Peloton thing, like so many other people. And then later he gets up and like does a hop. We spend so much time making fun of that we kind of buy into and help spread that fucking agenda that, he just needs to step down. It's like, you know what I'm afraid of? He steps down, Kamala Harris sees him and then loses.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want that to happen. I would vote for Kamala Harris happily, but I don't trust white people.
Nope. And misogyny.
I don't trust a lot of people. Joe Biden is kind of running fullback for Kamala Harris right now. He's a white dude that can take the beating of being unpopular in a way that she never would be able to. Not because she personally can't, but because we wouldn't let it happen. We would fold on her to be like, this is why we don't need a black woman as president. That kind of shit.
Yes, and it's the same shit that made me mad because I know we talked about this before, but when the field was open and it was time for everybody to come up and run against Joe Biden, she was in there. And you know what? You said everything about her and called her all the things and called her cop mala and came up with all these motherfucking excuses. You did not support her. But the motherfucking second she was like vice president, everybody comes out with their arm raised. Bitch, she had a chance to be first place. You were more excited about second place. And so it's like, why would you think if he was a step down, she was a step up. Did you want to support her? You wouldn't. You would not.
Like people was crying on election night, and I just kept thinking, like, it was a momentous moment, but it was a moment that was bittersweet to me because I said she could have been fucking president, man.
Right?
You know what I mean? As far as like she could, like, she was qualified, and everything we loved about her, we loved until the second she ran for president. And it's sad. And I saw so many people fall for it. And I low-key stopped fucking with them people. Like, because I was just like, oh, that's sad. I don't give a fuck if you're a black woman. If you was anti-Kamala Harris, I was like, yeah, you are so fully in with the Russia, like, woke fucking, like, propaganda shit where we gotta hate this black woman. You so fully in, it's sad. I went and listened to so many resources to actually get the details on her record and those cases that people were pointing out to be like, this is what she fucked up, and get the full context and see that, oh man, this is sad as shit. And I still remember this one podcast of these two dudes that was super anti-Kamala, going viral. They lived in the area of California that I think she may have first originally hailed from, or just they lived in California, and they made a big deal out of hating Kamala Harris, and they supposed to be pro-black women, all this shit. And those dudes were like, she need to be accountable. She need to do this. I ain't voting for her. I don't give a fuck. Those dudes had a weird sex scandal shit that happened with their podcast. No accountability. And I said, oh, that's interesting. When it was your turn, you know, back to that activism attracting sociopaths. When it was your turn to be accountable, you couldn't do it. When it was your turn to practice restorative justice and it got inconvenient, it was just like, well, I guess this dude just gets to be a rapist. And it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting, because Kamala would have locked your ass up. And that's what, and maybe that's what we need, because if you can just opt out of the motherfucking justice, is it really justice? You know what I mean? I remember thinking that, listening to that show and thinking of all the criticism they had about that woman. So yeah, man, people just be saying anything, and it definitely hurt Kamala in the long run. But yeah, if she would have run, I think it would just come right back. I don't think people would be like, we learned our lesson. She can be president. They'd be like, nah, something about this means we should vote Trump or not vote at all.
Correct.
Celeste says, hi, Rod and Karen. This week's been something. I was so happy to hear Janelle James again on the podcast. I'm so happy for her current success. She is so funny. The show is amazing. Being from Philly, the references hit different, especially since I did go to an under-resourced school in a poor neighborhood, but that really did have dedicated teachers, etc. And with the wonderful Cheryl Lee Ralph, she is married to a local state senator who is the real deal and has tried to fight the good fight for years here. With COVID news, I wonder what is to come with the BA.5 variant, and the response from the public and the government will be in the U.S. I'm sure, just like before, it will be varied based on the political affiliation, race, etc. What you both said in one of the episodes this week is so true. I think it's so true, and that is really is people, their choices, and what information they want to accept to act upon. And one reason I know it's a human thing is that it really is global. Even in very authoritarian countries, you don't even see uniform mask wearing. Yes, places like China can enforce lockdown, but even with that, there's been some pushback, which is astonishing. Even when it's for our own good, people just don't like being made to do things. It's amazing humans have survived this long. Actually, the other thing that is irritating and infuriating from those who never wanted to take the vaccine or do any of those other steps are almost gleeful that the vaccine is losing some efficacy, at least as far as stopping infection and illness. But now the only thing that probably would change that is if we encounter a variant that just kills people pretty quickly. That's the only way we could get lockdowns and total mandates. As long as it's about to be the same level of severity, I don't see much changing.
And you know, and what's so fucked up, and it's sad to say, but even if we was to have it come back and people was to die here in the States, I could still see some states going, fuck it. Don't wear no mask, just drop like flies, because everybody is like, it's back to normal. All accident free, coronavirus don't exist, jobs open it up, everybody doing whatever the fuck they want to do. So they like, well, if you drop dead, drop dead.
The main thing you pointed out that I just think people are missing is that it's worldwide. Everyone in America thinks it's some type of uniquely American problem. And I'm not saying America's not, you know, worse on some things than others, but this shit is rising around the globe again. This variant is kicking everybody's ass. And people just go, why? This is why we just need a mask mandate or whatever. It's like no other country has been able to successfully stem the tide of this particular variant. And I don't know that there's the willpower around the world even to go back to masking unless you come from a culture that was masking before COVID.
Right.
So, I mean, that's sad because I don't want to feel hopeless like that. But yeah, I don't even get mad about it because it's like the administration has advised people to go back to wearing masks. The CDC and the FDA, the CDC has the airline travel people trying to bring it back. People ain't doing it. A few words about the Roe decision. Where are all the white women activists in the streets? Where are all the progressives leading a mass movement of civil disobedience to force politicians to do something? Right. They are waiting for Black, brown, indigenous, and Asian women to do the organizer for them. Again, VP Harris has been nonstop on the ground, having meetings, pulling together policies and actions to try to mitigate the harm. I know she really took the lead on a lot of the federal action, and it really incenses me to see people say the federal government is doing quote unquote nothing.
Right.
And I know that it's a lot of just chicken little skies falling, people hanging out online all day in these silos, but god damn, man, like you could possibly read something. It's right there. It's not like I'm fucking a policy wonk. I'm not, you know, researching this shit. I just see it floating down my timeline like anything else, and it's Kamala Harris met with all the governors of this, and Kamala Harris is meeting with all the AGs and getting them to promise not to prosecute.
It's not a white man, so they just ignore the shit like the shit not happening.
Man, this is crazy. And people keep not giving her credit or lying on her. If you look at some of the faves of the progressive left, they're doing the same thing they did before. Talk a lot of yin yang, but don't come up with actionable plans. Just list of what people want to hear. I know.
That shit is infuriating.
Bane of my existence. Q, they trying to steal the election music. I hear what you're saying, that there isn't anything new for those of us who saw it in real time, what was happening, and assessed it accurately. I find it interesting in a depressing way that even with the good job they're doing, most white people default setting in this country is to never hold each other accountable for any wrongdoing. I too will wait and see if the DOJ will ultimately even attempt to hold the major players accountable by charging them and what the response will be. Listen, I would be happy if they charge some of the current Congress, senators, governors, and local reps so that they can't hold office. Here in PA, the kook that is running for governor is a whole ass insurrectionist, and he is still polling high. Anything outside of Philly and Pittsburgh is basically Klan country. Many people don't know that PA has one of the highest numbers of militia and supremacists in the country. There are 2 cities and some surrounding counties that are blue. Everything else is dark red, and Fetterman's dumbass should drop out and let Connor Lamb, who came in second, take his place. That man is a post-stroke and has commercials running, but we haven't seen him. We cannot have Dr. Oz in the Senate here. He doesn't even live in PA. It's ridiculous. Oh, damn. I don't know anything about that. What did you say earlier? Yeah, I guess I'm not saying people shouldn't watch it, but I'm not watching the January 6 hearings. I'm hearing some of the highlights. I will say the Secret Service thing, that was new to me. I didn't know that, didn't expect that. Can't say I'm shocked necessarily, but that is a twist I didn't see coming. I hope they subpoena those fucking texts, and I can't wait to see what's in them motherfuckers. Anyway, do you ever plan on bringing back Reading Rainbow? I have a few book recommendations. Heather McGee's of Some of Us, Carol Anderson, The Second, Race and Guns in a Fatally Unequal America, Sweet Summer, B.B. Moore Campbell, a little lighter but a nice memoir that's a little older about her experiences growing up in Philly and going down south with her dad for the summers, Parable of the Soul, Octavia Butler, Faces at the Bottom of the Well, Derek Bell. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. Thank you. And not right now. I haven't been reading that much. I've been reading a lot of comic books, but I haven't been reading a lot of prose, and I don't know when it'll start back. It's like I lost that when the pandemic started, and I just haven't had the willpower to come back to reading. Anyway, Don't play around with the Rona. Sit down and rest. This is from Gath, who says, "Hey, Rod and Karen, sorry in advance. I'm a little long-winded. I'm listening to episode 2562, and y'all were talking about pushing yourselves with long COVID. I caught the Rona earlier this year, because the university I work for got tired of hearing kids complain about wearing masks and said we couldn't force them to wear them in the classroom anymore. The school said that we are low risk for infection and spread according to the CDC guidelines at the time. They said we could drop the masking rules, but that ignores the fact that just a few weeks earlier, Mississippi passed a law saying if you knowingly infect someone with COVID, you pay them a fine of $5,000. Immediately after that was passed, testing rates plummeted in the state. And since testing rates were so low, cases were also low. Because if you don't know if you had COVID or not, you can't be liable and have to pay that fine. We weren't low risk. We just didn't have testing happening. So the school drops the mandate. They sent the students an email telling them they didn't have to wear any mask. We faculty and staff didn't get the email till the next day. So I walk into my morning class. I asked my kids to put their mask on. They were like, we don't have to do that anymore. After one day in class with students and a few of them coming into my office, all up in my space to chat, I wasn't allowed to ask them to put on masks in my office. And that evening, I'm having feverish chills. Side note, I'm happy to announce that I've left that school and I'm out of Mississippi. I'm now working at a different one that is taking COVID and employee health well-being much more seriously. Anyway, back to the old school. I hadn't been working there that long, and I already used my pitiful 3-day sick days to go to an interview that landed me my new job. So I got sick, and no one else at that school could teach my classes because I was the only person in my field at that school. They told me I had to teach sick remotely and complete all my other work or not get paid. At that point, I didn't have a choice because a lot of those COVID protections were gone and not renewed. So when they dropped the mandate, I couldn't request to teach online, and our campus didn't have classrooms large enough to social distance for my course. Even if we did, the university didn't have to do it. I was so exhausted. It doesn't surprise me that if I had rested like I should have done, I might not have been wrestling with long COVID so severely. I had sharp pains in my chest, trouble breathing, joint pains, and my doctor just said, you got to wait this out. Waiting it out was over 3 months of breathing problems and still have joint pain I didn't have before. I try not to think about if it was worth it or not, but I couldn't afford to lose the nearly 3 weeks of pay. That's how long I was tested positive for.
Goddamn.
But I just wanted to share my story and say to everyone else, please, if you can, rest as much as you can while you're dealing with COVID. Drink water, sleep a lot, and eat well. I love y'all's podcast. I'm glad I'm at a place I can listen more consistently again. Y'all always keeping it real. Love you both. Keep nice, Gath. Wow. Sorry about that ordeal. Woo.
Right. And these mask mandates matter, particularly when you talk about at universities and schools where a lot of these places don't have good ventilation. You know, a lot of them may or may, depending on where you at, may or may not have windows that open and things like that. Like, it is a lot in these environments, and you are putting a lot of the staff in positions that they may not want to be in.
That was interesting, the whole fine thing having the opposite effect, or maybe the intended effect.
Right, maybe the intended
Like,
effect.
well, I just want to get tested then, and then the state can say, "Hey, look, we got low COVID levels," when really it's just people trying to avoid that fine. Wow.
Yeah, because then you hold the people accountable, and nobody wants to be accountable. Everybody wants to just do what they want to do and be like, "Oh well, you just caught it from me, but I don't give a fuck."
Last one, the infamous Miss Barnes writes in, "I would like to speak to the villain, please. Good afternoon, Karen and the villain known as Rodimus Prime. I only have a simple request. Please leave the Arby's around the corner from me alone. You have besmirched my lovely Arby's in ways that are just uncalled for. First, I started with the nondescript thank you bags instead of the Arby's logo bags. Then when I wanted dinner, I see a piece of copy paper at the drive-thru that says they closed at 2 p.m. that day. It was 5 and I wanted dinner." Well, one, this just sounds like what happened. Hold on, let's let Karen get out of the system, and I'll finish.
Are you trying to say?
No,
I'm interrupting you.
Do you think?
You got it.
So one, number one, them give you thank you bags like what you put in a 40 in and shit. That just tells you the quality of food. I'm putting that in quotes. That they're selling out of there, that they giving you the same thing you put a fifth of Mad Dog in or some shit. And then the other part of it is if they're closing at 2 p.m., They're closing the food side, not the drug side. You can still go in there and get your key of cocaine. But what was really egregious was when I did go for dinner days later and was told they ran out of roast beef. And I thought of you, Rod. This is your doing. I lay this at your doorstep. Well, they probably only takes selling one sandwich for Arby's to run out of roast beef because
They probably got one roast for the roast beef, and once that's gone, that's it.
well, they probably don't even keep it in stock because they're not ordering roast beef re-ups because ain't nobody supposed to be eating it. Nobody else ran out of the main product. You never know McDonald's that ran out of burgers, even in the pandemic. The only way you do that is if that's not your main product. If burgers isn't what you sell. Now, if you went inside and said, "Are y'all out of heroin?" they would laugh at you and be like, "Bitch, we're never out of heroin. Are you serious? Nigga, we selling heroin every day. Just go around back and ask for a number 17 and make sure you have the money." Not even Megatron does shit like this, sir. This is the work of Nemesis Prime just saying, "Please leave my Arby's alone as it is innocent." I don't even know why you blame me for this shit. I would never touch
You're the
Arby's.
reason for the shortage,
Right.
apparently, black
Right.
man.
Blame Pusha T. And as this past week we celebrate Prime's Day, do you do this villainy, Rod? For the record, selling out roast beef means that they are moving product. No, it means they didn't order any product. You know what you know how Arby's order roast beef? The same way you do. They go up to Publix Deli and they be like, "Let me get 3 slices of roast beef." That's all it's gonna take for the whole day because no one eats this shit. Thank you, and I love you, Karen, like I love seafood and Rod. I love you like I love cilantro. Take care, Miss Barnes.
Oh, thank you.
As long as you don't love us like you love Arby's, I'm fine. Because nobody want to be a part of that sick, demented, nasty, just blasphemy. All right. All right, y'all. That's it. We'll talk to y'all next week. Sunday. Until next time. I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Bye, everybody.